By the summer of 2003, SNK had long since stopped production on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. But that didn't stop the Pocket Color arcade from popping up in GameStops all around the country. Yeah, I'm not sure who or why, but Pocket Colors were suddenly slapped together with 6 different games in these big blister packs and sold. There were also some expansion packs, which were 4 more games bundled together. I bring this up because this is how I got my hands on the Pocket Color in the first place. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have given the other games a fair shake, largely because I was a stupid kid and really just wanted to play Sonic. The 4 games in this list are some of the best the system has to offer, and are the ones that I spent the most time with. Though, in all honesty, the Pocket Color doesn't have a whole lot of bad games to start with, a benefit of having to keep the majority of titles first party. Like I said, Sonic Pocket Adventure was the game that piqued my interest the most. By the time I got to play it, the Sonic Advance series was already well underway, so I wasn't sure what to expect. What Pocket Adventure offers is a sort of remix from the 3 original Sonic games on the Genesis, mostly Sonic 2. For example, the first level lifts visuals from Green Hill Zone in Sonic 1, has a fairly similar layout to Emerald Hill Zone in Sonic 2, and contains music from Sonic 3 and Sonic Jam. The point is, Pocket Adventure isn't exactly a brand new game. Instead, it's like a smaller, portable version of Sonic 2 with flourishes of the other games mixed in. Most levels have been modified to an extent to make them a bit more friendly for the system's limitations, while the bosses are unique to Pocket Adventure altogether. Scattered throughout each stage are collectible puzzle pieces that can be slapped together in the puzzle room to show different bits of art. There's no real reason or reward to collecting them all, but it's a neat little extra added in for some replay value. Pocket Adventure's weakest asset is probably the sound. The music features pretty good remixes of Sonic 3's soundtrack, with a bit of Sonic Jam mixed in, but the sound effects themselves are meager at best. Granted, Sonic Advance may have spoiled us by this point, but the iconic sounds like spin dashing and rings weren't able to translate nearly as well to the Pocket Color. Otherwise, Pocket Adventure is a lot of fun to play. Levels are just the right size, and your progress is saved once each level is complete. The sense of speed and precise platforming are all there, and while it's not all new, Pocket Adventure is an enjoyable recreation of Sonic's early and arguably best years. Like I said in the previous video, the Neo Geo Pocket Color aimed to put the arcade experience in your pocket. While a lot of games had to compromise to meet the system's limitations, Bust-A-Move Pocket remained largely intact. For the uninitiated, Bust-A-Move is simple. Match the colored bubbles, 3 or more will cause them to fall off the board. Bust-A-Move is the Pocket Color's Tetris, perfect for short bursts while being easy to play, tough to master. Bust-A-Move Pocket is about as close to its arcade counterpart as you can get. The music is pleasant and relaxing, although it can get very ominous when players are put in a crunch. The game's simplistic look translates quite well to the Pocket, with Bub looking just as expressive and emotive as he does in the arcade. Bust-A-Move provides the normal affair, an endless survival mode, a puzzle mode with predetermined levels, and a versus mode against friends or the computer. There's not a lot of risks or much different from previous iterations, and frankly, there doesn't need to be. Bust-A-Move Pocket is the kind of pick up and play title handhelds need, even if it never ventures very far from familiar territory. And while Bust-A-Move didn't have to make changes, some games did, and in Metal Slug First Mission's case, it was for the better. Metal Slug retains all the madness from the arcades, the shooting, platforming, riding vehicles, and dying. Metal Slug First Mission introduces some more method to the madness, gunning instead for a single-player experience with plenty of replay value, rather than just eating your coins like its predecessor. Replacing lives, First Mission has a life bar to track how many hits Marco can take before it's game over. As each level is cleared, the life bar continues to increase, giving Marco more health and making the game reasonably balanced in its difficulty. Don't think for a second First Mission is any easier than the rest of the series. Bullets fly everywhere, and it doesn't take much to sap all your health and send you back to the beginning of the stage. Interestingly, there are multiple levels that have secret exits or finishes that will take you to different levels, giving the game a solid amount of replay value to go back and find them all. First Mission was able to maintain the colorful chaos the Metal Slug series is known for. Levels are jam-packed with variety in their locales, though you'll be fighting mainly the same enemies and tanks throughout the entire game. First Mission does manage to capture the vivid animations from the arcade, from tanks taking damage to soldiers fleeing in fear. The sound is, again, nothing special. The music does its best to replicate the arcade original, but to varying results. Unlike the scenery the game is set against, there's not a whole lot of diversity between tracks. You'll hear the Metal Slug theme a lot, and that's about it. To be fair, Metal Slug's soundtrack is probably the least memorable thing about the series, so it's no surprise the portable entry is not an exception. Like I said last time, Metal Slug's most irritating control scheme is changing the grenades with the option button, which also doubles as the start button. Having to get the timing down between the two sucks, and when you're trying to switch weapons in the middle of a fight, having to fumble with a single button is just wrong. Otherwise, Metal Slug First Mission is a blast to play, with plenty of secrets and extras to keep you coming back for more. Fighting games are typically the last thing you'd expect to play on a handheld. In most cases, they're watered down, poorer versions of far superior games that, while having a novelty of being portable, aren't worth the drops in quality the title would have to suffer. The Neo Geo Pocket Color ignored all that though, instead centering a large part of its library around fighting games. And not only that, they were good. Some of the best to ever grace a handheld, in fact. And no other Pocket Color fighter did it better than SNK vs. Capcom, Match of the Millennium. SNK vs. Capcom is a crossover fighting game starring the best from SNK and Capcom's flagship fighters like King of Fighters and Street Fighter. 26 different fighters are crammed into this game, with full arcade, training, and survival modes, alongside an Olympic mode featuring minigames based around SNK and Capcom games. The sheer amount of content for a game like this is staggering. Characters are squat, chibi versions of their normal selves, which makes sense given the screen size and capabilities of the device. The cartoony aesthetic works in the game's favor, giving the title some of the most lively sprites on the system. Once again, the art overall looks amazing, especially in the highly detailed backgrounds and stages the fights take place. Fighting game themes are some of the most memorable in video game history. Match of the Millennium manages to replicate these tracks marvelously. The tunes that pump out of your Pocket Color are instantly recognizable, and while they don't top the originals, they're certainly good enough to run alongside them. So with 3 buttons, the assumption would be that SNK vs. Capcom is a much simpler fighter than previous entries either company has put out. And to an extent, it is. One button kicks, the other punches. But with that being said, combos, special attacks, everything you've grown to know is still there, and each character plays as expected. More than any other game, Match of the Millennium shows off the wonderful little arcade stick attached to the system. The sheer level of customization in the fights alone give players plenty to do, right down to the win quotes. Fights can be changed to have one-on-one bouts all the way up to 3 vs 3 like King of Fighters. Coupled with 8 hidden characters, 4 from both companies, and you've got one of the best games the system has to offer. And that's the beauty of the Neo Geo Pocket Color. While the library doesn't scratch the Game Boys in terms of size, there's plenty to love here and a lot of good. As I said earlier, the games I talked about here are the ones that I personally spent the most time with on the system, but it's far and away the only games you should check out. The Neo Geo Pocket Color has gone up in price in recent years, but it's far from impossible to obtain. If you're able to get your hands on the system with a bundle of games, I'd say absolutely go for it. It's the little system that could, whose lifespan was cut way too short.